September 10th, 2018 council meeting to order. If you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Simpson.
Here.
Coyne.
Here.
Heffinger.
Here.
Lamb.
Here.
Parnell Kaby.
Here.
Rose.
Here.
Shields.
Here.
Reading of the minutes,
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields.
I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of August 27th, 2018 as prepared and submitted by the clerk.
Second.
Discussion on the minutes. Will the clerk please call the roll on the approval of the minutes?
Coyne.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Reports of standing committees. The Finance Committee met prior to council and will meet again in 2 weeks. Health, Safety, and Sanitation Committee, Mr. Simpson.
Nothing to report, no meeting scheduled.
Public Properties Committee, Mr. Shields.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report and no meeting scheduled at this time.
Special Legislation Committee, Mr. Lamb.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing to report, but I have a meeting scheduled on October 17th at 7 o'clock.
Thank you. Water and Utilities Committee, Mrs. Parnell Cavey.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have nothing to report and no meeting scheduled.
Thank you. Emerging Technologies Committee, Mr. Rose.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing to report, but we do have a meeting scheduled next Wednesday, the 19th at 5:30 downstairs in the multipurpose room. Thank you.
Thank you. Requests for council action. We have several for finance. We have 18-157 budget amendments, 18-158 then and now for Wilbert Company, 18-159 then and now Klein's Rural Truck and Auto Body, 18-160 accept donation from Medina Sunrise Rotary for the pavilion, 18-161 increase PO 18-0058 for Davis Tree Farm, 18-162 fitness room addition MCRC, 18-163 fiscal year 2016 chip rehab 240 East Union Street, 18-164 purchase of a new body and cruiser camera system for the police department, and 18-165 expenditure for Motorola Solutions P25 digital radio system for the police. Reports of municipal officers. Mayor Hamill.
Thank you, Mr. President. For bicentennial community events coming up September 30th at 1 p.m. at the Medina High School middle stage, there's going to be a program on the history of Medina schools and students presented by Roger Smalley and Gloria Brown. For additional bicentennial upcoming events, they have a website you can go to. It's www.medina200.com. Tomorrow, September 11th at 10:03 a.m., they're going to have a memorial at the 9/11 memorial. It'll start at 10:03, and it's going to be about 30 minutes for anybody that's interested in attending. And it's put on by the local Veterans Association, and the title is Never Forget 9/11, 2001. And then I also wanted to mention, actually the parents asked me to mention, our building official Dan Gladish and Community Development Director Jonathan Mandel, who assisted their son, an Eagle Scout, who built a pergola project at United Church of Christ Congregational. It was built this summer, and when the family showed up for what they thought was going to be the final inspection had already been completed, and Dan and Jonathan had created a folder with all of the drawings, committee notes, approvals, photos from start to finish, permits, and the final inspection report. And the family was very thankful and appreciative of the efforts of both departments and both men. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Durham, Director of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you know, we have a budget meeting later this week, working through general fund budgets, and that'll be it.
Thank you, Mr. Huber, Law Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. We recently completed the reconstruction of the north-south taxiway on the north-south runway at the Medina Airport. I had the occasion to use this taxiway. It's been in poor condition for a long time. It's a welcome addition for the pilots who use that airport. And this project was paid for primarily through state grant that Kimberly Marshall worked hard to secure. She was successful, and it's been a project that's been sorely needed, but the money has been short. So with the state money grant that Kim helped secure, we were able to get the job done. Pat Patton, our city engineer, was extremely helpful in coordinating with the Delta Group, which are our engineers who helped design this, and Fetchco Excavating did the actual work on the job. They did a nice job. This taxiway is, again, a taxiway that pilots would like to use more and we haven't been able to do because of its poor condition. So many thanks for everybody who helped with this.
Thank you. Chief Kinney, Police Department.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Thank you. Mrs. Marshall, Economic Development Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple items to note for council and the public. Our next round of ribbon cuttings are scheduled for Friday, September 28th, starting at 9 a.m. with a business called Shine Acupuncture and Wellness. It's a grand opening for their location at 805 East Washington Street, Suite 230. Again, we do the ribbon cuttings in conjunction with Main Street Medina and our Medina Chamber of Commerce and County Economic Development. The next one is at 1 o'clock for Orange Theory Fitness. So it's a grand opening at 1120 North Court Street. And then 2 o'clock, ribbon cutting for First Impression, which is a nonprofit that has now partnered with Jobs for Ohio graduates. They have a new location at 140 West Washington Street, which is in the lower level of the Miss Molly's building there. And then finally, North Court Laundry, which used to be located on North Court Street and then was impacted by the ODOT project, found a new location at 739 West Liberty Street. I believe they went through final inspections today. They're going to reopen actually this week, and then we'll do the grand reopening for them at 4 p.m. on September 28th. I am still waiting for a few more responses from a couple more businesses that are looking for ribbon cutting, so they'll either be September or October, but we hope that you're able to join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mendel, Planning and Community Development Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a quick comment. As the community has probably seen on on social media over the past weekend, the former Farmers Exchange property at 320 South Court Street is on the September 13th, 2018 Historic Preservation Board and Planning Commission agenda. This is for the review of the rehabilitation and reuse plan. Just to, this is a welcome project and desirable project for the city, as we've been working for at least 10 years on getting the property improved and made more productive for the community. If anybody interested wishes to learn more about the project, they can review the review meeting starts at 5 p.m. this Thursday in the multipurpose room in the basement of the City Hall. And the meeting's agenda and review packet are available through the planning and zoning section of the city website. Or, as always, you can call me directly, and I'd be happy to direct you to the information. My number is 330-722-9023. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wright, Recreation Center Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick update. The Rec Advisory Board meeting will be Thursday, September 20th at 7:30 a.m. at the Rec Center. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Worley, Parks and Recreation Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Parks Department is excited to announce that the renovation of Jump Playground at Memorial Park is now complete after about 6 weeks of work. The Parks Department spent a good deal of time replacing wood, pressure washing, staining, and replacing worn playground equipment. For those of you that don't know, this structure was built in 1993 with the help of over 2,000 volunteers and the Kiwanis Club, along with a couple other service organizations, made large financial contributions to the project. It's a 20,000 square foot playground made up of over 4 miles of timber and around 1,000 pounds of nails and screws. So after 25 years, the Parks Department's excited to announce that we jazzed up the Memorial Playground for a second time. Secondly, the Uptown Park, starting September 17th, a good portion of it will be roped off for our turf renovation project, where we'll be overseeding the square to get it prepared for next year's season. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gladish, building official.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do not have a report.
Thank you. Assistant Fire Chief, Crumley Fire Department.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Thank you. Mr. Patton, City Engineer.
Thank you, Mr. President. We've been notified by the gas company that they will begin the process of clearing their gas line easement over their transmission main. This main travels north from approximately West Reagan Parkway to the rear of the properties on Hillview Way. They'll be clearing 25 foot on either side of that gas main, which means any trees, sheds, or other obstructions will be removed. These are all private single-family residential properties in the city. All homeowners will be getting a letter here in the next week or so. Feel free to give the city a call if there's any questions or concerns about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Picoli, Service Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to acknowledge and commend their street department for their flood preparation this week, their prevention. With regard to street cleaning, basin inlet clean out, we were fortunate that the rains that fell this past weekend were in manageable amounts, so still wanted to acknowledge their efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Confirmation of President of Council appointment. We have Streets and Sidewalks Committee, Eric Heffinger as the chair.
Move to approve Council President's appointment.
Second.
Any discussion on the appointment? Will the clerk please call the roll on the approval of the appointment?
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
That's a good
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Notices, communications, and petitions. There are none. Unfinished business. We have none. Introduction of visitors. Members of the public will be permitted the opportunity to speak on any issue or concern which pertains to the city during the portion of the council agenda devoted to introduction of visitors. All comments shall be directed to the chair, and a reasonable time limit of approximately 5 minutes will be imposed. If there is a group, please appoint a spokesperson. Speakers should approach the front right microphone and state their name and address so it can be entered into the minutes. Members of the public will be afforded the opportunity to comment on other portions of the meeting as determined by the chair or by a vote of the majority of council members present. Is there anybody that wishes to address council at this time? Last chance. Okay. Introduction and consideration of ordinances and resolutions. We have Resolution 12218, a resolution accepting the donation from Target Corporation for funding of expenses for National Night Out to promote police and community cooperation.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Chief Kinney?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a donation that Target gave us to support the National Night Out event that occurred in August in their parking lot.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll on the adoption of the resolution.
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Resolution 122-18 passes 7-0.
Resolution 12318, a resolution accepting a donation from the Stevenson Foundation to renovate the pavilion at Ray Mallett Park.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Worley?
Thank you, Mr. President. The Stevenson Foundation donated $11,800 to help cover the cost to renovate the pavilion at Ray Mallett Park, which specifically includes installing a new roof, a wood ceiling inside the pavilion, and adding new siding and fascia. We appreciate their donation and support of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comment? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the resolution?
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Resolution 123-18 passes 7-0.
Resolution 12418, a resolution supporting the development of SBR 71 and requesting that the appropriate officials see to that the route is officially designated by AAS HTO and the Ohio Department of Transportation.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Mendel?
Do you want some gum to give you some juice?
Nice. Thank you.
Is that you? How about Mayor Hamwell? There's no mic by him. I got thrown off.
Sorry about that. So the state is setting aside or designating throughout the country, and ODOT is working in the state of Ohio to establish bike routes. So the SBR 71 is the state bike route 71 that comes through Medina City. We had our engineer take a look at it, and it follows safe areas predominantly through our residential areas, and we ask council to support this.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comment? Clerk, please call the roll on adoption of the resolution.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Resolution 124-18 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 125-18, ordinance amending section 91704 of the codified ordinances of the city of Medina, Ohio, relative to the water rates.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields?
the emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it this time.
My second includes the emergency clause.
Discussion on the emergency clause and the ordinance. Mr. Durham.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a request to put 3 sections in the water code back. They were inadvertently removed during a previous change, and it's asked that they be retroactive because they were never supposed to be removed in the first place. The emergency clause is for the same reason.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comment on the ordinance and or the emergency clause? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the emergency clause?
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Will the clerk please call the roll on adoption of the ordinance?
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yep.
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Ordinance 125-18 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 126-18, ordinance authorizing the increase of the expenditure to cocosing materials to $35,000 for the street department.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Pacoli.
Thank you, Mr. President. The original purchase order was approved by the Board of Control in January of this year for $15,000. We're requesting the authorization to increase to $35,000. The street department uses the asphalt material for pothole patching as well as street repair throughout the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comment? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of ordinance?
Coin.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Ordinance 126-18 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 127-18, an ordinance authorizing a water service connection at 5312 Lake Road in Lafayette Township.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Thank you, Mr. President. We received a written request from the owner of this property. The property is located in Lafayette Township, right next to the city of Medina. The county does not have a water main to service this property. The city of Medina does have a brand-new 8-inch main. The current property is served by a well that is not safe for drinking and not very good for potable water. So we're asking for the council's consideration in allowing a water tap in the city of Medina system.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comment? Will clerk please call the roll on adoption of the ordinance?
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Ordinance 127-18 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 128-18, an ordinance authorizing the increase of expenditure to Lake County Sewer Co. to $40,000 for the street department.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Pacoli?
Thank you, Mr. President. This increase will allow the street department to continue the necessary repairs on our storm sewer system. This allows for grouting. Grouting is a cement-like material that is pumped through the storm sewers and fills joints, voids, and defects in the storm sewer system. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll on adoption of ordinance.
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Ordinance 128-18 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 129-18, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to advertise for the auction, sale, or disposal of city equipment and vehicles no longer in use.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion, Mr. Pacoli?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is everyone's favorite, the annual city auction. This auction will be held, if council approves, Saturday, October 20th of this year at the City Garage, which is located at 781 West Smith Road. The auction will begin at 10 a.m. Preview is at 9 a.m. We will have trucks, cars, there's a van from the fire department, electronics, tools, bicycles, pieces, parts, numerous items. The law director has reviewed and approved the contract with First Quality Auctioneer, and we're excited to have this auction once again.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Ordinance 129-18 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 13018, an ordinance authorizing the law director to prepare the necessary documentation for the transfer of .2576 acres of land on Liberty Street to the Medina City Development Corporation, CIC.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. President, this ordinance will authorize a transfer of what used to be called the old church property, which is the parking lot, for redevelopment along Liberty Street. This is also at the front end of the parking deck project that's been talked about by the city. By transferring to the CIC will be able to utilize the property to bring interest of developers for development of this stretch of the block. And if Ms. Marshall and the council authorize and direct me to prepare this documentation, I will definitely get it done.
Thank you. This parcel is approximately 80 feet deep. This is where we're talking next to Solly's, and about 140 feet in length between the federal court house building and Solly's. And again, this is going to be a redevelopment of both residential and retail use. So there'll be another building constructed there with the parking deck located behind it. So we've been talking this for a few years, and I think this is a great addition to bring more activity to the square, since we're at 100% occupancy at the square, so we need more buildings rather than more parking. Is there any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Ordinance 130-18 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 13118, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, for traffic signal maintenance of state-owned traffic signal at US 42 and Grande Stonegate Boulevard.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Patton?
Thank you, Mr. President. This ordinance and the next one are results of ODOT asking the city to consider taking over maintenance responsibilities for two traffic signals, existing traffic signals adjacent to the city. Currently in our system, we have 40 traffic signals that we maintain, 40 signalized intersections. Adding two more is not a burden. ODOT will continue to pay the power cost to these, as well as pay the city a stipulated fee every year. The proposal is this is a 2-year renewal, so if for some reason we'd like to get out of it after 2 years, that's fine, but we think it'll be a good solution. The signal at Grande is actually part of even though it's not physically located in the city, it's connected to it will be connected when the 42 project is done to our coordinated system within the city, so it makes sense for us to maintain it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comment? Clerk, please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Ordinance 131-18 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 13218, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, for the traffic signal maintenance of state-owned traffic signal at State Route 18 and Foot Road.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Patton?
This is a similar discussion to the previous one. ODOT requested that we take over maintenance responsibility. They will continue to pay for the power costs and also pay this city an annual fee for that maintenance.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Ordinance 132-18 passes 7-0.
Resolution 13318, a resolution authorizing the application for grant assistance from the State of Ohio, Ohio Public Works Commission, relative to Issue 1 and LTIP program funding for the North Broadway Street Culvert and the Spring Grove Bridge projects.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Patton?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is our annual application for the State of Ohio OPWC funds. As mentioned in the title, we are asking this year for funding for 2 bridge culvert projects, one in North Broadway and one in Spring Grove. Our total request is going to be $470-some thousand. The total expected cost of both projects combined is like $740,000.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll on the adoption of the resolution.
Coin.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Resolution 133-18 passed 7-0.
Ordinance 134-18, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Desmond Design Management to provide criteria developer services for the construction of a city hall parking structure.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Patton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Earlier this year, council authorized us to go into a process to select a criteria developer for the parking deck project. We've selected a design build method. Criteria developer is the consultant that guides us through that process. We went through this when we did the first deck 8 or 9 years ago. As a result of that selection process, we were recommending Desmond Design Management to act as a criteria developer. They were the ones that did this same task for us 8 or 9 years ago on the first deck, and they did a great job.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll on adoption of the ordinance.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Ordinance 134-18 passes 7-0.
Resolution 135-18, a resolution strongly urging the Ohio Governor and members of the Ohio General Assembly to invest the state budget surplus in municipalities.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? I guess I can address this. As everybody knows, or should know, that the state of Ohio in recent years has cut municipal funding or local government grants and funding to a tune of about $1 million. And so we've had to fill that shortfall over the years. And though we were able to do it, we can't do it indefinitely. And I know that the state of Ohio has a budget surplus, so we would like to have some of that money back. So we're going to send a letter to the Ohio Governor and members of the Ohio General Assembly urging the governor to redirect those funds back to the municipalities so we could use them to improve our communities. So I think that's what we'd like to do, and hopefully everybody will support that. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Quinn, I
Mr.
just
Simpson?
want to elaborate that is $1 million, close to $1 million that just the city of Medina has lost with the governor's cuts.
Yes, that's true.
I
It's not $1 million for the state. It's just $1 million to the city of Medina.
Yeah.
So, and if our city is a size of about 26,000, you can imagine the larger municipalities of Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati, how much money they've lost. I'm not really sure off the top of my head, but it's a lot more than $1 million.
Right.
Okay. Any further comments? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the resolution?
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Resolution 135-18 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 136-18, an ordinance amending ordinance number 177-17 passed December 11, 2017. Amendments to the 2018 budget.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion, Mr. Durham.
Thank you, Mr. President. There are 2 things here. First is an increase in appropriations. That's a donation that we received that we're passing through. And the second one is a reduction, which came out of a budget meeting we had last week.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comment? Clerk, please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Ordinance 136-18 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 137-18, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Medina, Ohio, certifying that when a municipal obligation was incurred, sums were lawfully appropriated in the funds to satisfy the obligation, and sufficient sums currently exist to satisfy this obligation.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields?
the emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it this time.
My second includes the emergency clause.
Discussion on the emergency clause in the ordinance. Mr. Durham.
Thank you, Mr. President. This was an emergency, and it was not anticipated because the wall fell on the light tower and broke. And the funds have already been spent, so the emergency clause is to get the vendor paid because they already fixed it.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the emergency clause and or the ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the emergency clause?
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Ordinance 137-18 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 13818, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Medina, Ohio, certifying that when a municipal obligation was incurred, sums were lawfully appropriated in the funds to satisfy the obligation, and sufficient sums currently exist to satisfy this obligation.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields.
the emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it this time.
My second includes the emergency clause.
Discussion on the emergency clause in the ordinance. Mr. Durham.
Thank you, Mr. President. This was some work that was done on one of the street department's trucks, and due to a miscommunication between the finance department and the street department, they had a purchase order at the end of last year. We closed it at the end of the year, not realizing that the truck had gone out for the repair in November, and it didn't come back and get the invoice to us until July. So they actually did need that purchase order, which we closed at the end of the year. So this is essentially to put that purchase order back into place. And again, we need the emergency clause because the work's already been done.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the emergency clause and or the ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll on adoption of the emergency clause?
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Ordinance 138-18 passes 7-0.
There's one ordinance 13918 to be added to the agenda.
Move to add ordinance 139-18 to the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion on adding ordinance 13918? Will the clerk please call the roll on adding ordinance 13918?
Coin.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Ordinance 13918, an ordinance authorizing the expenditure of not to exceed $205,000 to Motorola Solutions for the communication upgrade to the digital P25 system for the police department.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields.
the emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it this time.
My second includes the emergency clause.
Discussion on the emergency clause and the ordinance. Chief Kinney.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're requesting permission to expend carry forward funds to upgrade our current UHF system to the digital P25 system. Our current UHF system is end of life. It's been in service for several decades. We're experiencing blackout spots in the city where the officers are unable to communicate with each other or dispatch. The sheriff has committed to allowing us, Medina Township, Montville Township, LST, and the fire department to join his system free of cost. So we would only be responsible for the equipment. Once the equipment's purchased and programmed, the sheriff would maintain the actual towers, repeaters, and the actual infrastructure of the system. We negotiated a competitive rate with Motorola, which ended up being the lower end of all the bids. Motorola quoted us a price that was 26% under state bid. So that is a significant discount to that equipment. We requested the emergency clause because our radios are experiencing those problems currently, and in certain areas the officers are unable to communicate with dispatch. So there is an urgency there.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comment on the emergency clause and or the ordinance?
Mr. President.
Mr. Simpson.
I would just like to thank Chief Kinney and his staff and the administration for doing everything they can to keep our safety forces safe. Thank you.
Do you have any further discussion or comment? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the emergency clause?
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Heffinger.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
Heffinger.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Parnell Kaby.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Ordinance 139-18 passes 7-0.
Council comments. Mr. Lamb.
I didn't even say anything.
I could see it in your eyes.
Okay. Actually, the one thing I was thinking was really more of a question than a comment. I'm wondering how many times the word yes was spoken tonight. I mean, it had to be. What do you think?
It's very
It was
positive.
214 times I counted.
Did you do that? Okay, thanks, Danny. No, I have just two quick things, I guess, then. And one is for the mayor. Thank you for your State of the City address. It is, you are so incredibly capable of articulating, I think, not just what's accomplished, which is important, and it's been a lot, but how it's been accomplished through collaboration and cooperation. And I guess just when you work together and you recognize that you have a goal and you all work toward the goal, you have brought that, I don't know, that real sense of unity, I think, to the city. And when you present it, like I've said many times, it's when we listen to it, we kind of know it in a way, but then when you talk about it, it's almost in another context that, well, maybe you really didn't see it that way, but you expressed it so well. And I guess to add to that, just, I think that the operation here has it is almost an operation with a sense of kindness in how people are dealt with and how people are people approach the city and how they're handled, that it isn't just an institutional, cut and dried, but it is a humanizing experience, I think, both to work here, which we've had this great opportunity to be part of, and for folks that have to deal with the city. I think it's very humanizing and personalized, the way the administration and the city workers respond to residents and concerns and issues that arise and how they're so well handled. And I think that you deserve a lot of the credit for that, for simply the way your behaviors, and you have really, I think, brought that umbrella of a real sense of how we all can be better as part of a unit and work together. So I appreciate what you've done. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional council comments? Going once? No. Okay, just remember, there's a budget meeting on Wednesday. Everybody should be showing up on that. Those are great.
I'm not coming.
With that, the meeting is adjourned.